Hi, I'm Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on Newsfeed today. A father and daughter die trying to reach America. This image is all social media has been talking about. France makes Facebook share its book on hate speech on its site.
This'll stop them insect vultures.
Some scientists say spinach should be banned for athletes Popeye would approve. And the stupidest yoga trend we've heard of yet. On top of our newsfeed, Valeria and Oscar Ramirez, two people and two names which will be forever burned into the history of the US migration crisis. Waves of sympathy and compassion have flowed through social media, but despite the tweets and posts, will the US government change its treatment of people who are seeking asylum?
This is Oscar Alberto Martinez Ramirez and 23-month-old Valeria Ramirez, a father and his daughter, found drowned on the banks of the Rio Grande, victims of the Trump government's zero-tolerance approach to refugees.
We have people coming into the country or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. But we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals.
He wanted to give his family a better life, but died with his child trying to do so, tucking her into his shirt to stop her from being swept away. The photo was taken by Julia Leduc.
It was something that moved me deeply, because it showed me that up until her last breath, she was joined to him not only by their shirts, but also in that embrace in which they passed together into death.
An embrace now everywhere on social media. It's being seen by many as America's Aylan Kurdi moment, the 3-year-old Syrian boy who in 2015 drowned in the Mediterranean trying to cross into Europe. His photo caused a flood of emotion and some action in the days after his picture appeared. Germany allowed in thousands of refugees stuck in Hungary, but that emotion and sympathy soon faded, replaced with anti-immigrant feelings across the continent. President Donald Trump's administration has shown to be uninterested in a humanitarian solution to the migrant crisis at their border. They've separated families and imprisoned hundreds of children in what some politicians and commentators are calling concentration camps. So will this picture of Oscar Alberto and Valeria change anything?
Next, Facebook will give the French government details of its citizens who've used hate speech on the site. It's a big move for France, for Facebook, and for social media more broadly. Now, this is the first time a government has been able to see under the hood of Facebook when it comes to how it actually deals with extremist content. Well, earlier I spoke to Dr. Andre Oberle. He's a senior lecturer in cybersecurity at La Trobe Law School in Melbourne, in Australia. He's also CEO of the Online Hate Prevention Institute. I asked him why Facebook could agree to this.
Look, Facebook is under a lot of pressure globally, and there's a realization that they need to do something to try and deal with the issues. It's not enough for them to sit back and say it's somebody else's problem. I think they've also seen a number of countries starting to legislate. They've seen the Christchurch call, for example. They've seen that if they don't improve systems, then other people are going to legislate and force them to do so. There have been improvements in transparency. Facebook released data early this year showing that the level of hate speech has risen significantly between last year and this year. So the last 3 months of last year compared to the first 3 months of this year saw a rise of, I think it was about 30%. So they are already doing that. The problem we have is it's based on Facebook's understanding of what is hate speech. It's based on their understanding of exactly what should or shouldn't come down. And if users report something and Facebook deems it to be not appropriate, the report, then that doesn't count as hate speech. This is going to become interesting now with the changes in France, because now we're going to be in a position where it'll be courts looking at some of the content. And if Facebook is resistant to handing over data that the courts later deem they asked for correctly and that it was hate speech, we could start seeing some pushback for platforms, and particularly Facebook, to start improving their definitions, improving their training for staff, and start recognising the wider breadth of content that falls within that hate speech category. It's entirely appropriate that when the people involved are in France, it will be French jurisprudence which will be used. That matter was already addressed in a Yahoo case many, many years ago, where it was said in court that, it was said the internet changes everything. And the response was, no, it doesn't. It doesn't change the laws of France. And this is a direct follow-up to that. The laws of France will be what the French judiciary, what the French parliament decides. That will be the law that applies to the people in France. The people in Germany will have German law. The people in Australia will have Australian law. The people in Turkey will have Turkish law. That's how it should be. The companies can't replace the law of the states where the citizens actually live. On the one hand, having each country being in control of the law in its own country, being in control of what content is allowed and is not allowed on social media within its borders, that's entirely appropriate and correct. Where we do see a role for global intervention is that there should be a basic minimum standard based on human rights that says, for example, if you had a non-democratic country that wanted data on people on the basis of, let's say, their religion or their sexuality, and said, we want this and it's going to be used to persecute them, in that case, platforms should say no. But it should be based on international human rights law that says we're doing this to protect human rights in a form that's internationally recognised. And that also would be appropriate.
All right, let's take a look at some of the other things that caught our eye on social media. The White House is afflicted by mental retardation. Its actions outrageous and idiotic. Not my words, the words of Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. He was responding to the latest round of sanctions coming from Donald Trump et al. That they've imposed on Iran. The White House has not issued a rebuttal to his description yet. Well, to breaking news, that's breaking bad news. It's the TV series and it could be getting a reboot. Walter White himself, aka Bryan Cranston, and his son in the show, Aaron Paul, have both tweeted the same picture with the caption, soon. Loads of people online think that there must be some kind of sequel in the works about them being drug mules. Get it? And Samuel L. Jackson posted this to his Instagram. It shows two images of the actor as Nick Fury with the eye patch for the new Spider-Man movie. But any eagle-eyed viewer will have noticed that the image of Samuel L. has been weirdly reversed. The eye patch is on his right eye in one, his left eye in the other. For the record, Nick Fury is left eye-less. Samuel L. says heads gone roll for the mistake. Now, San Francisco has taken what's seen as a major step by banning the sale of e-cigarettes. The council behind the move say it's not clear if the electronic devices are safe. What isn't safe and isn't banned in the city are actual cigarettes, so...
San Francisco is about to become the first major U.S. city to ban the sale of e-cigarettes to people under the age of 21.
I think banning it is good because kids smoke them a lot. I smoke cigarettes and stuff, but the e-cigarettes, they get to kids a lot, and I don't like that. If my little brother smoked, I wouldn't appreciate that. So banning it could be a good thing.
Officials say the decision will be reversed if the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approves the sale of electronic nicotine devices. Companies were supposed to submit their applications for a pre-market review to the FDA in 2018, but that decision has been pushed back to 2022. Meanwhile, stores can continue selling e-cigarettes elsewhere in the U.S. San Francisco officials are fighting back, saying the FDA has not been following the law when it comes to e-cigarettes and has been irresponsible. Some say the ban will just drive people to smoke regular cigarettes, which cause loads of health complications.
Go back to smoking cigarettes full time or go across the bay, go somewhere else. No big deal. I mean, you hop on a bus or whatever. 20 minutes later, you got all the e-juice you want.
The World Health Organization says nearly 3 million American high school students smoke e-cigarettes. Authorities believe easy access to the products and the fact that they can be easily hidden from teachers makes them more attractive. Although the long-term health benefits of the nicotine devices remains unknown, a study by the WHO has revealed carcinogenic chemicals in some vapors. So will San Francisco's hard stance on e-cigarettes start a trend across the US?
And next, some women in France are defying the country's ban on the burkini and taking a dip to cool off as Europe goes through a severe heatwave. Around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Wednesday. The climate crisis has been framed as bringing on an apartheid between the wealthy and the poor. Philip Alston from the UN says the rich will be able to buy their way out of the worst effects of the crisis while the poor will suffer. And there is evidence of this happening in India right now. The city of Chennai has run out of water. The cost of water has gone up 100%. And guess who is suffering the most? Now this is police video from Georgia in the United States. It shows a newborn baby in a plastic bag. The baby was found in the woods and her mother has not yet been located. Police have named her Baby India. She's in the care of Child Protection Services and is healthy, alhamdulillah. Now this is supposed to be the latest bit of spyware from Russia. It's a reconnaissance drone that looks like a snowy owl, a bit like Harry Potter's beloved Hedwig. It's apparently designed to confuse enemy defenses, but I think it's just the latest bit of trolling by Russia's troll-tastic security forces. Now, Boeing was able to sell some of its 737 MAX planes. The ones that have yet to be delivered are in their employee car park in Seattle. The aviation company has struggled to sell these 737 MAXs after two of them were involved in two crashes in 5 months. Hundreds of people died in those crashes. Now, 400 pilots are suing the company because they say Boeing knew the plane wasn't safe, yet continued to allow it to fly. And some scientists are saying that spinach is so good for you that it should be on the list of banned substances for athletes. The leafy green contains testosterone, which in their studies had a similar effect to steroids. That is if you eat 4 kilos of the stuff raw. It looks like Popeye was onto something. Now, you might have heard of hot yoga, cat yoga, goat yoga, there's even beer yoga apparently, but have a look at this. Yes, that is a tiger, and there is also a lion somewhere, and those are lycra-clad Americans getting zen around those magnificent animals. This happens in Florida in the United States. People are paying for these classes of strengthening and lengthening while a big cat prowls up and down, wondering what the hell is wrong with people, and also, what's for lunch?
And they're here in this unique environment. Sometimes walking into a studio can be a little intimidating, but we create this really special environment here surrounded by the tigers.
It's not your typical close your eyes and go into your inner place and stay focused on your yoga practice. It's really about experiencing all the energy of the environment that's around you.
These creatures are really reminding us to be in the moment. As you know, tigers don't worry about what's coming ahead. They're just here in the moment and completely thankful for everything that they do have.
Americans. Now, we often ask ourselves on this show, who is the best doggo in the world? Well, today we may have a contender from Mexico. This is Frida. She's a 10-year-old Labrador who became a symbol of hope for the country after the earthquakes in Mexico City in 2017. Now, at least 300 people died in those quakes, but Frida helped in the search and rescue efforts and is credited with saving 12 people's lives and helping to find 40 bodies. She's now been given a commendation and an early and very much deserved retirement. So it is time for her to hang up that mask and those little boots of hers. Thanks, Frida. Goodbye. And that will be all from the Newsfeed team. Reach out to me for questions, comments, complaints, and suggestions. You'll find me at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Follow, subscribe, and add. See you again tomorrow.